Something that seems to be a prevalent topic in the news for the last several years is the cost of groceries. We have a personal goal to keep our food costs for our two-person household down to $400 or less per month. It's conservative, but not extreme. It equals about $6 or $7 per day per person, or around $2 to $3 per meal. One of the ways that we do this is by making a lot of our meals at home, and it's not often that we go out to eat. During good seasons, we also grow a lot of our own produce and can what we are able. All of these tactics help keep the grocery bill down. During this journey, we started a ritual of making pizza from scratch every Friday. It's a good way to set us up for the weekend. It's become almost like a ritual, and I know that it eases me into a more relaxed state as I come out of the mental and daily grind of the work week and just start to relax. So, join us on our pizza making process that you can absolutely try at home too. A good pizza starts with dough. We make a simple, uncomplicated dough in our bread maker. This bread maker we picked up at a Goodwill shop several years ago, and it usually makes our weekly pizza dough. But we have used it in the past to make bread loaves as well. I think we paid around $10 for it, and it's definitely been put through its paces. If you don't have a bread maker with the dough function, then you can still mix the dough by hand or in a stand mixer and then set the dough to rise in a warm, draft-free area. When I make bread that way, I usually set our dough in the microwave with a few half-gallon jars of hot water and leave it to rise for a couple of hours. We usually split up the pizza making process. Andrew usually prepares the dough during the day on Friday afternoons, usually. He does this by first adding 1 tablespoon of sugar to a large liquid measuring cup and setting it aside. Next, he adds 2 cups of bread flour to the bread maker. You could use a pasta or pizza flour, or in a pinch, an all purpose flour. Just know that the end product may be a bit stiffer and not as easy to work with. Then he adds 1 tablespoon of margarine to the bread maker. You could also use butter if you softened it, or olive oil if you prefer. Then he adds a teaspoon of salt. In this case, he used Himalayan pink salt because that's what we had, but any finely ground salt will do. Next, he runs our tap water until it becomes hot and then grabs a half cup of the hot water in the liquid measuring cup that also holds the sugar. He places a thermometer inside this mixture so he can wait until the sugar water reaches the perfect temperature for him to add the yeast. To help cool the mixture down faster, he will often stir the sugar water or swirl it around in the liquid measuring cup. He's going for around 105 to 110 degrees. Once he hits that sweet spot, he adds a teaspoon of active dry yeast and waits for the yeast to activate, about 5 minutes. Once the yeast is activated, which you can tell because it starts to bubble up and it smells like yeast, or a bit like beer if you're unfamiliar with what yeast smells like. He pours the whole yeast sugar water mixture into the bread maker to meet the other ingredients. Next, he adds another 2 tablespoons of water to the liquid measuring cup, swirls it around, and adds it to the bread machine as well. This just helps get out the last remaining pieces of sugar and yeast. Then he closes the bread machine top and sets it to the dough setting. The bread maker will mix the dough and let it rise. Later that evening, when we're ready to make pizza, I will open the bread maker and check to ensure that it has risen. Rarely it won't, for whatever reason. If it does that, I will just knead it on my counter with some more bread flour for a few moments, cover it, and stick it in the microwave surrounded by half-gallon jars of hot water and let it rise a bit longer. Usually that will resolve the issue. If it doesn't, then we will still use it. It's just we'll have a more dense pizza that evening and it works out just fine. If I needed to knead my dough, I will let it rest in a ball at this point while I cut toppings for the pizza. If my dough does not need kneading, then I will go ahead and roll it out first. Provided the dough has turned out as expected, I will first turn the oven on high. You want to do this as high as your oven will go. Ours will go to 500 degrees, which is great because you need the oven to be very hot to make a good pizza. You could also use a pizza oven if you have one. I've seen people do these on their cooking grills in their backyard or in their backyard pizza oven as well. The next step is taking the bread out of the bread maker and forming it into a pizza. If the dough already feels elastic and smooth, I will just ball it up and immediately start working it into a flat circle. If it feels a little sticky, I will knead it some more and set it aside for a bit, and then work it into a flat circle. I do this by spreading a small handful of bread flour out on my work surface. I might add some spices as well, like garlic powder, basil, oregano, parsley, but I don't always do this. It really just depends on what I want to make that evening. For rolling out the dough, I usually pat it down first and then use my rolling pin to help me flatten it out. I then use my hands to start gently stretching the dough. This can take a few minutes, so you just have to be patient. I have noticed if it's warmer out, this process usually goes a lot more smoothly. I did want to share this other portion of when I'm rolling out dough because in this instance the dough ripped a little bit and was a lot stiffer than usual. And I think you can see the difference between the videos of kind of when it goes well versus when it's being more difficult. Since I'm trying not to make it perfect, I usually just cover up the rips with some of the extra dough and keep working on building the pizza. I did want to go ahead and showcase that because sometimes the dough is just more difficult to work with, and that's okay. Once I have close to the right size, I start pulling the dough over the edges of the pizza pan to help it stretch a little bit further. Once I have the pizza formed, I will start to roll the edges over. I do this by just pinching over the edge of the dough and pressing it down all the way around the edges. Once I have that completed, I stab the pizza dough with a fork several times over to help release any air pockets so it won't rise inconsistently. Next is time to add the sauce. For us, this is really whatever is available. If we have some leftover pasta sauce from a previous meal, I'm probably going to use that. If I have extra time and I want to make a pizza sauce, I might occasionally do that. If there was a sale on canned tomatoes and I have a bunch of them, then I might make sauce out of those. If I have none of those things, I'm probably just going to use plain tomato sauce. We buy those by the case also from Sam's, and they work out really well. I usually use about a quarter to a third of the can and then just pour the rest of it into a glass jar and put in the fridge to save for later. I'll use that jar of tomato sauce later in the week for a pasta dish or for pizza the following week, maybe a soup. It really depends on whatever it is that we're eating that week. Whatever sauce I land on, I spread it around relatively thin as we don't want our pizza to be soupy. Next comes cheese. Because we have a Jersey cow on the homestead, we almost always have fresh mozzarella cheese available. And oh my goodness, I'm telling you, it is amazing. If you ever have the opportunity to get fresh mozzarella cheese, please do and throw it on a pizza. It's heavenly. Anyway, we try and make this cheese during the week, usually in the evening before Friday, so we'll have it available. However, sometimes we're just unable to get to the cheese making that week, and that's all right. So we just use something else. Typically, we like to use a mix of mozzarella cheese and cheddar cheese, as we think it gives a better overall flavor. Occasionally, I might have a fancier cheese if I was trying to test out a new recipe, and I'll use that. Eventually, we plan to make our own cheddar cheese on a regular basis as well. We do have the necessary ingredients and supplies to do it. We have just not found the space to do this on a regular basis. As far as pizza toppings go, this is one of the best parts. We can use just about anything that we have on hand, although our standard tends to be a half veggie and meat pizza, but we have also made smoked barbecue chicken pizza with jalapenos, or arugula pistachio pizza with a balsamic glazed drizzle. You can get as simple or as crazy fancy as you want. For this one, I'm chopping up some homegrown oyster mushrooms, some green pepper, onion, adding some black sliced olives that we buy in a case at Sam's Club. And then once I'm done chopping up all the veggies, I switch to the meats. For this one, I chopped up some cooked bacon, smoked turkey that we smoked on our patio in our smoker, and we added some hard salami that we get at Aldi's. Because I don't eat meat and my husband does, I try to make it obvious which side is going to be meat when I place it on the pizza. And while a little bit of meat probably won't hurt me, and a little bit of the grease probably also won't hurt me, too much of it would send me to bed early with a massive stomachache. I'm just not used to it anymore, and I just prefer not to eat it anyway. You might have noticed that I use the same pan for both versions of our pizza journey here, and I honestly don't remember where I got this particular pan. If I had to guess, it was probably Walmart or maybe Amazon. I've had it forever. I think I purchased it when I first moved out of my parents' house and into my very first apartment. Anyway, we do have other pizza pans and we also have a pizza stone, but I really keep coming back to this one because I like how our pizzas turn out when we use this pan. If we have family over, I will bust out our stones and our other pans so we can make multiple pizzas at the same time. But if I'm just making one, this is the pan that I'm reaching for. It has tiny holes in it, and I think it's called a perforated pizza pan or a pizza pan crisper. They are super common, and I'm sure you can pick one up just about anywhere. After that, it's adding the veggies, and we're ready to go in the oven. The great thing about chopped up veggies is I will store those in the fridge to use for taco night, or a veggie hash, or an egg bake, or skillet later in the week. Veggies never really stick around long in our house. I did want to note that because we do go through a lot of vegetables, we save the scraps. So things like onion peels or carrot tops or green pepper hearts, etc., those sorts of things. We freeze them in a big bag and then I will take them out and boil them in a big water bath to make veggie broth that we can use in soups or casseroles or sauces. I just freeze those in batches and then take them out as needed as we make those things. It's really an economical way to save a few dollars and it adds up over time. I'll hopefully make a video on this process in the future and how it ties in with our composting goals. Andrew really likes honey mustard with his pizza, and this is something we also make from scratch most of the time because it's more economical. While we can make mayonnaise as well from scratch, often we tend to just buy a jar from it from Aldi's for convenience purposes. Honey mustard is really just mayonnaise, yellow mustard, brown mustard, lemon juice, and honey. Just mix and match those ingredients until you get what you like in the jar. Although for us, it usually ends up taking about a half a cup of mayo, 2 tablespoons of yellow mustard, 2 tablespoons of brown mustard, a dash of lemon juice, and 2 tablespoons of honey. I never put the honey in first because then it sticks to the bottom of the jar and it can be difficult to mix around. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to bake the pizza, but honestly, I don't set a timer. I sort of just hang out, listen to music, chat with Andrew, clean up our kitchen, and just keep an eye on the pie. Once I see the top is bubbly and the crust is lightly browned, I know it's ready to come out of the oven. I usually try to wait a few minutes to let the pizza cool before I cut into it, but sometimes that's really difficult and we're super hungry, so I'll just start cutting it anyway. And then for this version of pizza, mine is a veggie with some unconventional choices of adding pineapple and pickles. Judge me all you want, it's good. Andrew's is a 2 meat with bacon and hard salami and all the veggies except black olives and pickles. Thanks again for joining us today to see how we make pizza night an economical option for our start to our weekend.
I has the eggs. You don't even have any eggs. You're not brooding. There's nothing there to brood on.